Welcome back to Mizzou Cloud and DevOps curriculum series for online learning. My name is Songji Wang. I am a cyber infrastructure engineer at the University of Missouri. In this video, I'm going to briefly go through the fourth lab in our learning series, CI/CD with Jenkins on AWS with data-intensive web applications. The purpose of this lab is for you to learn about continuous integration and continuous deployment using the Jenkins framework. The topic of this lab include the technology we will be learning about, CI/CD with Jenkins source automation server tool. The platform will be using Amazon AWS cloud platform. The use case application in this case is no COVID-19 application based on our research. So why do we need continuous integration and continuous deployment? If you are a programmer and have ever used code repository, for example GitHub, you know that traditional integration process requires developers to update and push their code into the repository and merge with the updates from other developers for their code to work. In this case, the developers have to check the repository several times or maybe many times a day to verify the code integration. And then at the end of the integration, the code will be sent and verified by build teams to detect any problems. And if there's any problem, the developers need to fix those and send to the build team to verify again. This entire process is very time consuming and error prone. However, with the modern CI/CD system, software developers will rely on a tool that keeps a mandatory version control system, and whenever there's any updates to the code on the application, the system will automatically build and test the application to make sure everything works, and then after that, the system will deploy the newly built application on the remote server machine. With this automation tool, the life cycle of the DevOps world can be run continuously without any interruption. In this lab, we will use Jenkins, one of the leading automation servers for CI/CD purpose. Jenkins provides many plugins to support integration and deployment of your software development project. Jenkins is self-contained and open source project developed and maintained by a wide community in the DevOps world. Jenkins can be used to automate many different tasks. For example, building, testing, delivering, or deploying softwares. To use Jenkins, you can install it on your machine through native system packages or using Docker containers. It can be installed on any machine that has a Java runtime environment installed. In this lab, we will use a research-based use case application, no COVID-19. In this application, we use artificial intelligence for big data analytics on published research papers regarding to COVID-19 virus. The guided web interface of no COVID-19 provide visualized knowledge patterns for any users, including experts or novice users, to find information regarding to COVID-19 and drill down facts and study deep topic relationships. Here we provide some high-level overview of the lab steps. First, the overview and getting started with Jenkins. We'll provide some basic information about this lab and about the Jenkins system. After that, we'll include 4 different tasks in this lab. Task 1, Jenkins installation and configuration. Task 2 will create a simple Maven-based job. Task 3, continuous deployment with the pipeline. And Task 4, CI/CD with no COVID-19 use case application. Once you finish all the tasks, please clean up your lab resources so you don't get charged after this lab. In the rest of the video, I'm going to show you a hands-on demo of 3 of the lab tasks. Task 1, Jenkins installation and configuration. Task 2, creating a simple Maven job. And Task 4, CI/CD with no COVID-19 use case application. Task 1, Jenkins installation and configuration. In this lab, we will use an AWS EC2 instance to install Jenkins server and practice this lab. Go to your AWS account, click EC2 service, and on the EC2 service page, click AMIs under the images. On the right hand side, change the search type to public images, and in the search bar, input the AMI ID that we prepared for this lab. Enter search, and you will be shown the AMI ID that we prepared for you. From this AMI, you can launch an instance. In the instance type, please select t2.medium. Leave the default for your configuration and the storage size to 30 GB. You can add a tag or choose to leave it blank. Here we choose to use a name as a key and the Jenkins server as the value pair. In the configure security group, choose the default security group in your account. Click Review and Launch. Review the information that you just input from all the previous steps, and if everything looks right, click Launch to launch the instance. In the selecting as existing key pair, just input the key pair of your choice in your account. Once you have launched your instance, you can go back to the EC2 service page and look at the information of your server. So the EC2 instance will be ready in a matter of 1 minute or 2, and then you can start using the EC2 instance for this lab. Now switch back to the terminal. You can use SSH command to log in to the EC2 instance by using the key pair of your account. Now you have logged into your EC2 instance. The first thing we will do in the EC2 instance is to install Jenkins. So this will involve a few steps, and then you can copy the commands from our lab instruction to install Jenkins. After the installation, you will run the system control daemon reload and start Jenkins commands to start Jenkins service. So once everything is done, just open up your web browser and put the IP column 8080 in your web browser and connect to the Jenkins server. From the Jenkins web page, you will be asked to unlock the Jenkins using the password on the server that you just installed. On the terminal, Run this sudo cat var lib Jenkins secret initial admin password command to retrieve the password and put into the web browser to unlock Jenkins. Once you've done this step, you will be taken to the Customize Jenkins page, where you can choose to install suggested plugins or select plugins to install on yourself. In this case, we'll select Install Suggested Plugins. Once you click it, you can see Jenkins has started installing all the plugins by default. So we'll fast forward here for everything to be installed on the server. And after the Jenkins configure all the plugins, it will redirect you to the Create First Admin User page, where you can create an admin user that you can use to log into the Jenkins server. Then Jenkins will display the instance information with the Jenkins URL for you to log into the server. Click Start using Jenkins and you will be redirected to the landing page. On the landing page, you can choose to perform various tasks. For example, create Jenkins items, manage people, configure Jenkins, and etc. So our next step is to configure Jenkins to install a few plugins for this project. So if you click Manage Plugins in the Plugin Manager, you will first to look at a GitHub plugin. In the Installed tab, we will search for a GitHub plugin and then make sure the GitHub is in place. So if you see a check mark in the GitHub plugin, that means GitHub is already configured in Jenkins and you're good on this part. Otherwise, you have to install the GitHub plugin for it to work. So in this demo video, we're showing our GitHub plugin is version 1.34.3. You can have a different version, but it should also work. Now go back to the Manage Jenkins page and then click Global Tool Configuration. From this Global Tool Configuration, we want to configure the Java JDK and Maven installation. From the lab instruction, you already know that we already installed Java JDK and Maven on the AMI image that you use to launch this instance. However, on the Jenkins server, we need to configure the path of these two libraries so the Jenkins can find the binaries of these two libraries. So here we show the path of the Maven library, which we installed as 3.8.5, and then the Java JDK version 11 that we installed on the server. Now we're ready to go to the next task, create a simple Maven job. Task 2, creating a simple Maven job. Now on the Jenkins server, go back to the landing page and click New Item. In the name field, enter a name that you like, for example, Maven job, and click Freestyle Project. In the configuration page of this Maven job, you can provide some description of this job or just leave it blank. In this case, we're adding a Maven job description, and in the GitHub project, we're going to put the link of our GitHub repository to this blank. If you have forked our Jenkins demo GitHub repository, you can put the URL of your forked repo in here. Here we're showing the GitHub repo for myself. And then go down to the source code management. We again put the GitHub repository URL into the repository URL blank here, so that the Jenkins can find the source code from our GitHub repository. If you scroll down in the build, in this case we're using the Maven version that we previously created, and then use the Maven version to perform a goals action, which is a clean package. In the post build actions, we'll add a archive the artifacts step so that the Maven can compile the archive into the WAR files in the project. In the files to archive, we'll use */star.war. So in this case, Maven can find the WAR files from anywhere in our project to archive. Go back to the main page, click Build Now to build the project. You're seeing that we already have number 1 through 10 build history, but if it is the first time you build a project, you should see just number 1. And then if you click the number of the project, you will be able to see the status of your current build. In the console output, you can see the history of all the command that has been executed after you start to build the project. From the status page, you can also see the WAR file that has been created by Maven. In this case, it's called webapp.war. If you click the Changes tab, you can also see the changes that have been applied from this new build compared to the last build. In the next step, we will create a downstream job from the Maven job to deploy the artifacts that we create from the Maven job, in this case the WAR file. To avoid confusion, we'll change the Maven job into packaging, because this job is used to package the GitHub repo into the WAR file to be deployed on the new job that we're going to create. To create the downstream job, we need to again manage the plugins on the Jenkins. The first plugin is the copy artifact. Search for the copy artifact plugin, check it, and install without restart. The second plugin is deploy to container. Again, check it and install without restart. Going back to the dashboard and then create a new item. We'll call it deploy to staging. And again, it's a freestyle project. Go into the configuration page, click Build, select Copy artifacts from another project, and put packaging in the project name. In the artifacts to copy, input *****.war. In the post-build actions, click Add Post-Build Action and select Deploy Warrior to a container. In the warrior files, put ******.war. Click Add Container, select Tomcat 9.x Remote. In the credentials, we have already created a Tomcat user on our server with the credentials configured. In this case, just click Add. In the Add Credential page, put Tomcat in the username and the password Jenkins-demo. Click Add to add this credential and go back to the previous page. On the left-hand side, click the drop-down and select the Tomcat credential to add. In the Tomcat URL, put http:// the IP of your AWS EC2 instance, :9090. Click Save and then go back to the main page. Now you have this project deployed to staging. Go back to the dashboard and click Packaging. Now it's time to configure this packaging project to connect it to the downstream job and initiate the deployment stage. In the configuration page, scroll down to the post-build actions and click Add Post-Build Action. Select Build Other Projects and put the Deploy to Staging job name into the projects to build. We'll select Trigger Only Build is Stable from the upstream projects. So when the packaging project is deployed, this deploy to staging will be initiated. Now go back to the dashboard where you see both the upstream and downstream projects. From the packaging project, click Build. And you can see the packaging has been built. And after a little while, the deploy to staging has also been built. You can click the status to see the status of the downstream job. And click Console Output to see that the downstream job has been started by the upstream project packaging and it has been successfully deployed. Now switch to your web browser and put the IP :9090/webapp/ into your web browser, and you can see the output from our deployed web application. In this case, we're showing Hello World. In the next task, we will create continuous deployment with pipeline. Task 3, continuous deployment with pipeline. The first thing we need to do in the pipeline is to install the build pipeline plugin. Go to the dashboard plugin manager. In the available, search for build pipeline. Once you find it, check mark and install without restart. Once the installation succeeds, go back to the dashboard and create a view. Click New View and then Build Pipeline View. Give it a name you like, for example, My View. Scroll down. In the upstream downstream config, select Initial Job, choose Package. Scroll down and click OK. Now you're redirected to the Pipeline My View page. From here you can see you have 2 stages with the packaging and deploy to staging. On top of the build pipeline, click Run. You will immediately see that the color of the projects has turned from green to yellow and blue, with yellow indicating the package is currently being built and the blue is to be built. After a little while, the packaging has turned from yellow to green, indicating the packaging has been successfully built. After that, the deploy to staging also turns to green, indicating that the downstream project has also been built. Congratulations, you have successfully built and deployed a pipeline. In the last task of this video, we will demonstrate CI/CD with no COVID-19 use case application. Task 4, CI/CD with no COVID-19 use case application. Go into the dashboard on the Jenkins server and create a new item. We'll call it no COVID-19. And then this will be a pipeline that we're going to create on the Jenkins server. In the configuration of the no COVID-19, in the configuration page, scroll down to the build triggers and select GitHub hook trigger for Git SCM polling. Down here in the pipeline, select pipeline script from SCM. In the SCM, put Git and copy your GitHub repo URL and paste into the repository URL here. Since this is a public repository, then you don't need credentials to connect to it. Scroll down in the branches to build, put */master, and the script path is Jenkins file. Click Save and go back to the dashboard. Now we need to configure the GitHub hooks. Go to your GitHub repository. In the settings, webhooks, put the URL of your Jenkins server into the payload URL, and in the content type, select application JSON. Leave everything as default and click Add Webhook. Now go to the GitHub repo and change the following files. First, the COVID app, COVID-19 website, source, main, resources, templates, index.html. In this file, uncomment this following line that has "This is version 1." Commit changes, and then go to the resource folder, static, JS, Angular services, and main service.js. Change the server URL to the relative URL that you have with the IP of your AWS EC2 instance. Once the IP is updated, go back to your terminal and then connect to the AWS EC2 instance. Run sudo user local tomcat bin shutdown to shut down the Tomcat server. This is because we're going to deploy our no-COVID-19 into Docker containers that also has Tomcat installed, and we'll need to use the same port as we installed on the VM instance. Now go back to the Jenkins server. In the no-COVID-19 project, click Build Now. You can see that the no-COVID-19 is currently being built, but it's going to take a little bit while because we're going to deploy multiple Docker containers on the server. Once the build is done, click the build number and view the console output. You can see that everything has been successfully built. Now from the GitHub repo, you can copy the server URL and put into your web browser to access to the no-COVID-19 server. Once the server is up, you can see the no-COVID-19 main page is displayed with a "This is version 1" on the bottom of the page. Remember, this is the line that we uncommented in our GitHub repo, so we'll use this information to track the version of our no-COVID-19 in Jenkins server. From the web portal, you can click Sign In to either sign up account or log in as a user. On the sign up page, you can input your username, password, email, and other information to create an account for yourself on the server. Once you sign up for an account, you can use the account to log in. From your account, you can see there are multiple tabs on the top and in the main page, so you can click them and get the information that you like to have. So there is a About, Data, Reports, and Topic filter. With the topic filter, you can use a level of evidence pyramid to acquire the information that you want regarding to COVID-19 information in publication database. Here we're showing there are related publications on COVID-19 related health information. By clicking the name of the publication, you will be redirected to the publication itself. Now we're going to modify the GitHub repo and change the version of our no COVID-19 web application, so we can see how one change in the GitHub repo can automate all the deployment of our no COVID application. By going back to the template index.html file, you can modify the line with "this is the version 1" to "this is version 2" or whatever that you are going to change it to, and this change will be reflected on the no COVID-19 webpage instantly. Once you click commit changes and go back to your Jenkins server to observe any new build. The new build will take some time, but once it completes, you can click the console output to see how everything was rebuilt. And then go back to the web browser to the no COVID-19 web server. If you refresh the page a few times, and then you will see that the no COVID-19 web server has been updated with a new version saying this is the version 2, 3, 4, and etc. And you can still use the same login information that you created before and log into the server and use a new updated server. Congratulations! In this lab, you have practiced using Jenkins server to automate code integration and deployment process, and used our research-based project no COVID-19 server to experience the CI/CD process. And we welcome you to explore our other DevOps learning modules. Thank you very much.